Welcome back to the Everygirl podcast. Whether you're on a hot girl walk, multitasking your way through a pile of laundry, or watching this episode on YouTube with an iced matcha, thank you for showing up for yourself today. I want you to right now take a deep breath and just for this little amount of time that we're chit-chatting, forget your to-do lists, your inbox, because this is your time for you. I hope that that's what every one of our episodes feels like. It's a radical act of self-care because you're tuning in for you. It is your me time. And this episode is an extra fun topic for your me time. So I got this question. Can you please do an episode on romanticizing and learning to love everyday mundane tasks? It's something I have trouble following through with. I loved this topic. So this is going to be a deep dive into how to romanticize your life, like actually what that means and how can you transform your everyday mundane tasks to feel amazing. Let's start by answering the question, what does it actually mean to romanticize your life? Because it's become a bit of a buzzword. You've probably seen the TikToks, like a perfectly curated morning routine with soft jazz playing in the background and a matcha that's whisked in slow motion, and then someone journaling by candlelight while wearing a cashmere robe. It's beautiful and it's very aspirational, but that's not really the heart of what we're talking about here. I mean, if that's what your morning looks like, I'm jealous. I love that for you. But that doesn't necessarily mean romanticizing your life, because I think a lot of that kind of content causes overwhelm and stress because we feel like, well, if our life doesn't look like that, something's wrong. Maybe you get to have this kind of romantic, slow, luxe morning every so often, or maybe it's your Sunday, but fitting in a candlelit journal session and like a cafe level matcha every morning is not doable, and trying to do all the romanticized things is likely causing you more stress because it just feels like more shit to check off a to-do list. Romanticizing your life is not about aesthetics. It's not about making your life look good on Instagram or buying yourself flowers purely for the Pinterest vibes. Although both of those things are great and I fully support them. I love an aesthetic. Beautiful things make me so happy. But it doesn't really achieve that romanticization of life necessarily. Romanticizing your life means choosing to be the main character, turning the smallest moments of your life into a cinematic experience purely based on your own mindset. That's the change. It's the conscious decision to find beauty and meaning and maybe even some magic in the ordinary. It's about reclaiming joy from the monotony. Is that how you say that word? I always struggle with that word. Monotony. Now it sounds like it's a fake made up word. The monotony, the normalcy of your life, and infusing your everyday with presence, intention, appreciation. The way you eat your breakfast, the way you take a shower, the way you fold your laundry. These can either feel like chores that you're rushing through or moments of connection with yourself. You get to choose. And here's why it really matters. From a neuroscience perspective, when you deliberately seek out joy or beauty, even in really small ways, you activate your brain's reward system. So dopamine gets released. And when that happens, your brain starts to look for more of those feel-good moments. This is part of something called neuroplasticity. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you focus on. So the more you romanticize your life, the more your brain learns to find joy in the everyday. So like true romanticization looks and feels like being so intentional that your brain starts to romanticize automatically all on its own. Spiritually speaking, this idea isn't anything new. Ancient Buddhist philosophy talks about mindful presence, being fully in the moment, whether you're sipping your tea or scrubbing the floor. In Japanese culture, the practice of wabi-sabi finds beauty in imperfection and simplicity. Even poets like Mary Oliver and Rumi built legacies on seeing the sacred and the beauty in the small and mundane. So romanticizing your life isn't just this like self-help fluff. It's not spending money on flowers necessarily or lighting a candle to do your work. I mean, these things are part of it, but like what the real core of it is a deeply human instinct to find meaning in the mundane. And this is really hard in modern life, especially in our hustle culture. We are trained to rush. Everything is about efficiency, what we can get done. Like we're taught to grind now so we can enjoy later. But you guys, the later never really comes. Romanticizing your life in today's day and age is a rebellion. It's saying, I'm not going to wait for the vacation or the big move or the relationship to feel excited about my life. I am going to create joy and beauty now. In the mornings, I make my bed, in the way I wash my face, in how I cook dinner. It is how we reclaim presence. And it's how we make life feel better without needing life to look different. So again, like romanticizing your life for sure is about let me buy myself flowers and turn on a nice playlist and wear my fluffy robe. If that's what romanticizing your life feels like, that's can be such a big part of it, but that's not the core of it, if that makes sense. The core of romanticizing your life is changing the way you experience your life without changing the way your life looks. Maybe you have yet to achieve your dream job. Maybe you're waiting on a relationship. Maybe you're waiting to make more money. Maybe you're waiting for your health to change. Obviously, these are things we all talk about on the podcast all the time, is how to get to the goals in your life. Romanticization of your life is different. It is saying, I'm not going to wait until I feel worthy of enjoying my life. I'm going to enjoy my life now. Not when I have money to buy my dream home, not when I have a better job, not when my health is different, not when I'm in the relationship. Now, today. That is the core of romanticizing your life. So let's get into the how. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I romanticize my day, from my morning routine to my emails to my errands, and give you practical, zero cost, totally transformative ways to do the same. I want you to focus on one key shift that is different than what you might have heard from other content about romanticizing your life. It's about intention, not aesthetics. It's not about making your life look romanticized. It's about experiencing it that way. So for example, what I think of as like the most common cliche, like romanticize your life, is I guess like buying yourself flowers. If it feels like, okay, I'm buying myself a bouquet of flowers. Yeah, that looks pretty. Let me post it on Instagram. Okay, yes, it makes my house look a little prettier. And then you go about your day and you don't think about it. That's not really romanticizing your life. You waking up every morning, looking at the flowers, smelling the flowers, being like, oh my gosh, this is the home I get to live in. I get to buy myself flowers. Look how beautiful it looks. Let me smell them every day. That is romanticization. Another example of this that I see, we think about a romanticized cup of coffee. It is not romanticizing your life, even if, yes, you have the gorgeous coffee maker and you have your syrup in pretty glass bottles and you have your milk frother. It's not romanticization. Even if you do all those things and make yourself this delicious frothy vanilla latte, if you are rushing through it and you're chugging it down while you're getting ready for your day, that is not romanticizing. Romanticization means it could be, sure, this like fancy cafe level coffee, squirting hazelnut sugar-free syrup from a glass and gold bottle, or it could be a super quick cup of Folgers coffee. No offense to Folgers. My point being, though, it's how you experience it. It actually has nothing to do with what you're doing or what you're drinking. It has everything to do with how you're experiencing it. So romanticizing your coffee, if it feels extra special to you to have all the things, great. But it's about how you're experiencing that cup of coffee, no matter how you're making it. It is sitting down, smelling it, taking it in, that first sip hitting your tongue and being like, oh my God, this is pure pleasure. That is romanticization. It's not about making your life look romanticized. It's about experiencing it in a romantic way. Here are some key strategies that I swear by, kind of both for tapping into the mindset piece of it, which is the most important part, but also for more of the fun shifts to the routine that I know you guys are looking for, and that's what you want when we talk about romanticizing your life. So, first one, turn all of your routines into rituals. So I want you to go through all of your daily routines, the things that you do every single day, like your commute to and from work or brushing your teeth. Every single one of these routines can be made into a ritual. So, for example, instead of rushing through your skincare routine, turn it into a moment of connection. Play a song that sets the vibe you want. Massage your cleanser like you're in a spa commercial. Same thing with your morning coffee. Drink it slowly. Notice the warmth, the flavor, how still the morning feels. Let that first sip feel like the best thing you're going to taste all day. Maybe a routine like folding your laundry. How can you turn that routine into a ritual? Is it playing your favorite podcast and lighting a candle? Is it turning on a playlist of Disney Channel songs from back in the day that you want to like dance around and sing to while you're folding? How do you make it from a routine into a ritual? The difference between routines and rituals is just how we experience them. Your life is already stocked with possible rituals. You just have to experience them as such instead of treating them as mindless routines. Another strategy is sensory upgrades. Let's talk about why your senses are key to romanticizing your life and why this typical romanticize your life content that we think of typically has to do with your senses. Like it's either about what you taste, what you smell, what you hear. This is because your five senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, are how your brain collects information about the world around you. They are direct portals to your emotional state and your ability to be present. Here's what I mean. For sight, for example, visual cues can immediately affect your mood and nervous system. That's why warm lighting, greenery, or just like a clutter-free space even can instantly feel calming. Studies show that looking at beautiful or familiar objects like art, flowers, even a pretty coffee mug can activate the brain's reward centers and reduce cortisol. Next, smell. This one is wildly powerful. Smell is the only sense directly connected to the limbic system, which is the part of your brain that controls emotion and memory. That's why a scent can bring back a random memory from 10 years ago or instantly change your emotional state. Like I can still smell the exact bottle of lotion that I used when I was a freshman in high school. It was like Neutrogena something or other, but I would never forget the way it smelled. A couple years ago was going through my bedroom back home and found one of these old bottles, and just smelling it brought me back to freshman year of high school. Like we all have these experiences of what we smell being so intrinsically tied to certain memories, right? So we can use this to our advantage when it comes to romanticizing our life. Lighting a specific candle or diffusing lavender while you journal literally creates a neural association between that scent and feeling safe, calm, or inspired. So for example, it's not even just about lighting a candle, it's about finding candles that remind you of certain times in your life or candles that you love so much that it's like the best smell in the world. Something that is going to stimulate your limbic system. Sound. So music, ambient noise, even silence can change your brain waves. And silence can be a part of romanticizing your life too. I want to say this. We always talk about the Nancy Meyers playlist, but silence can sometimes be a really powerful romanticization, listening to what is around us. Even if there's no sound, realizing, oh my gosh, this quietness is so peaceful. Sometimes it is going outside without any podcast or music and listening to the birds chirping or the wind through the branches. But sound is really powerful. Studies using brain scans have shown that music can trigger dopamine release increase focus, and reduce stress. That's why something as simple as playing French jazz while making dinner can feel like a scene from a movie and make you feel less stressed. You're not imagining it. Your brain is responding to the sound that you're hearing. The next sense, touch. Touch grounds you. Weighted blankets, soft socks, warm mugs. These are associated with romanticizing your life for a reason because they activate tactile sensations that calm the nervous system. Weirdly, this is why some people recommend eating sour candy when you're having anxiety because it's stimulating the same tactile sensation that relaxes the nervous system. Physical contact with soothing textures or temperatures stimulates the vagus nerve, which helps regulate your stress response and brings you into parasympathetic rest and digest mode. So touch is a big one that often doesn't get enough attention when it comes to romanticizing your life. That's actually where the cashmere robe can come in. The important part is you have to be present of how you are experiencing the robe. You have to really feel the cashmere or the silk on your skin and think about it, be aware of it, how it actually feels. And then what's the last sense? Taste. Okay. Ooh, taste. Taste is underrated. Obviously, you know that you enjoy things that taste good, but flavor can really spark presence very effectively. When you really taste something, like you're really present and you're experiencing something like the tartness of a raspberry or the creaminess and bitterness of chocolate, you are pulled into the moment. And actually, another reason why some people like to use sour candy to counteract anxiety is because your brain, when it's tasting something and you're aware of that sense being activated, your brain is pulled to focus on it. It is a really effective way to feel presence. Mindful eating is a form of meditation. It's also been linked to improved digestion and also emotional regulation. So again, it's about being really hyper-focused on how you are experiencing the food you're tasting. So all of this is how the senses really play into your romanticization of your life. So tapping into these 5 senses is where some of those more typical, well-known romanticize your life moments come in, like the softest possible sheets, or wearing a fluffy robe, or lighting a candle, or sipping a fancy tea. This is actually neuroscience. You're literally building a bridge between your external environment and your internal experience. When you are aware of these senses, it's basically telling your brain, this moment matters. Pay attention. And the more often your brain hears that message, the more your life starts to feel magical, even if nothing externally has changed. Here's what's really interesting about this to me. Tasting something super delicious, smelling an amazing candle, having a really fuzzy blanket or pair of socks, all of these things serve the purpose because they force your body to pay attention and to feel. But technically speaking, you can get the exact same experience when you are just hyper present on each of these senses. So lighting a candle, that scent is going to be strong. So you are going to smell the candle without having to think about it, which is then allowing you to be present in the moment. But another possibility is at any given moment, you can just check in with, what am I smelling? Maybe scent is a weird one that you don't want to just check in with yourself every so often what you're smelling. But for example, touch, feel. Yes, if you wrap yourself in a cozy blanket or you're wearing a silky robe, these things are a lot more obvious to focus on and to bring your presence back to that tactile feeling of touch. But you can also just be aware right now. How does it feel sitting in this chair? This top that I'm wearing right now, how does it feel against my fingers if I touch it? All of these things are pulling you into presence, which is how you romanticize your life. If you want to make the changes to your life, and that's a lot easier than just the act of mindful living and being present more often, add some of these sensory upgrades to help train yourself to be present. Because again, the focus is not on how fancy or aesthetic these things look. It's about how you experience them. So for example, you can add lemon or mint to romanticize your water so that it forces you to slow down and taste the water you're drinking instead of chugging it. Put your favorite perfume on before working from home. It will help you neurologically tap into some favorite memories or maybe your best self, even subconsciously, so you experience your workday differently. Play intentional music while you cook or clean because it turns any activity into a different experience when your brain is focusing on the music in addition to the task. It makes you extremely present. And then another strategy is more of a practice, and it's to stop saving the good stuff. Brianna Wiest shares a quote a few times in her very inspiring episode that I highly recommend from back in April. Don't open your safe to find ashes. This quote that she was sharing with us came from an excerpt from the writer Annie Dillard, who writes, "The impulse to save something good for a better place later is the signal to spend it now. Anything you do not give freely and abundantly becomes lost to you. You open your safe and find ashes." So many of us are constantly saving or waiting. I am so guilty of this. Like, I will save my favorite t-shirts or leggings for a special day or later in my laundry cycle. Like, I will literally only wear my good workout sets on like Friday or Saturday. Or if we get like a good pasta or good wine for a gift, I will save it for months for a special occasion. You know, it's saving the good china for only special occasions. It's saving your favorite perfume or not wearing your favorite shoes on a regular average outing. The amount of times that I have saved the good sauce or fancy chocolate only for them to become expired before I get to eat them. We're saving and waiting so much that we actually lose opportunities. And also, when we're doing this, when we're saving the good stuff, we are telling ourselves, today doesn't matter. Today isn't special. It's another way that we're just going to survival mode now so we can live later. But guess what? Most of us are not actually getting to the living. Don't open your safe and find ashes. Romanticizing your life is a daily practice. It's a lens you put on like glasses. And some days that lens is foggy or crooked or it's cracked, and that's okay. Not every day is going to feel super romantic, but when you consciously choose to feel pleasure and joy and beauty in the mundane, that is romanticizing your life. You're giving yourself permission to feel good for no reason at all. So let me walk you through exactly how I try to romanticize my life through the most mundane parts of my workday to errands and winding down at night. Again, I don't do this perfectly every day. There are many days that I am in survival mode as much as I try not to be. It is like I'm just going to power through and I'm like dying for this day to be over. But there are some methods that I've found helpful and that really helps me to enjoy and fully live my average every day. So starting waking up in the mornings, I'm definitely not the girl who's waking up at 5 a.m. and journaling for an hour in silence while the birds chirp and sync with my breath. But I do romanticize my mornings by just making them feel a little bit like the opening scene of a movie. The first thing that's so important for me is I pick music for whatever vibes I want to emulate that morning. I've talked about before how I used to play a wellness or business podcast every morning, like something for self-improvement, because I had this toxic productivity a little bit where I was like, okay, I have to always be improving. So I have to fit in all of the content as much as possible. I stopped listening to as many wellness podcasts a couple years ago because having my own podcast, I didn't want the way that anyone else does this to get in my head. I wanted to be fully authentically me in the podcast. But I still love a really spiritual or sometimes a finance podcast here and there. So now I will listen to podcasts on some mornings if I'm in the mood. I also do love to listen to reality TV interviews with my favorite reality TV show stars. But now I also love listening to music in the mornings, like purely just for the joy. I love ABBA. It gets me in such a good, energized mood in the mornings. It like makes me want to dance around while I'm getting ready. But other days, I'm maybe more low energy. I don't want a super like high energy dance feeling. So I'll do Nancy Meyer's playlist or something. Also in the mornings, I open windows even in winter, which I know I'm lucky because LA doesn't get that cold. But opening windows and blinds in the morning is such an important romanticization ritual because it makes me feel alive. And then I normally don't have time for a full meditation or anything major in the mornings, but I take a minute before getting up to just set the intention of experiencing this day as if I was my older self getting to relive this age one more time. You might have heard me talk about that ritual before. It's my little hack that helps me feel present and tap into gratitude. I actually think this is my biggest romanticization hack because when I can intentionally look at the world, look at my day, how I'm experiencing it, as if I'm so freaking lucky to be here. If I, again, was 95 years old and got to come back and relive this day, and I'm like trying to make myself breakfast, but oh my God, I got to make whatever I want, and my body's going to be young and digest it amazingly, and I get to move around, and I get to, oh my God, exercise or go for a walk with my dog. Your 95-year-old self, if they could exercise in the body you're in right now, or if they could go for a walk with your dog around the block in the body that you're in now, you wouldn't need to buy yourself flowers and the perfect playlist and the cute workout set in order to romanticize that moment. You would just experience it so differently. So honestly, I like all the stuff too, but the biggest hack that I think to romanticize your life is to live every day like you're experiencing it as if you were your oldest self getting one day to come back and live in this body, in this life. So I set that intention in the morning. That's been, honestly, I've said this before, that is the biggest shift that has made the biggest difference for me. Then in the mornings, I take out Louis. My romanticization is just feeling the sun on my skin. I try to look at all the flowers that are blooming and like have a moment of like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. What a gorgeous street I get to live on. Food is a big way I romanticize my life throughout the day. I do like to go a little extra on my food because it makes it feel so fun and nourishing instead of just something I have to do in between meetings. So for breakfast, I'll make a matcha or cacao latte, and that is very romanticized. I use my favorite nut milks, I froth it, and I really enjoy it. It tastes super decadent and rich and delicious, so I try to really make sure to fully taste it. And then breakfast, I'll, add bee pollen to my yogurt. Like adding all of the things makes it feel romanticized to me because I'm being intentional. Or another example, for lunch or dinner, I'll add chives or kimchi or pickled red onions. Like adding garnishes to food not only adds more nutrients, but feels like I'm eating at a restaurant. It makes the flavor better, and it also makes like the sight of it better, again, going to those senses. So you experience it even differently. Like if you make yourself scrambled eggs for breakfast, I swear, just top it with chives and flaky sea salt and eat it with a slice of really fresh sourdough bread you got from the farmer's market. And you will feel like you're on vacation in Paris instead of just rushing through your meal before your meetings. It's really important for me that every meal is super pleasurable. Like I want to enjoy everything I eat. So for example, if I'm having a salad, I will add some crushed organic tortilla chips and use Primal Kitchen's ranch to make it super delicious. I'm not eating anything bland or boring or any meal that I'm not excited about. When it comes to work, again, music is everything to me. I'm super intentional about this. This time of year, I love this one Italian music playlist I have, or I'll do like old Maroon 5 that I just want to like sing along to if I'm doing more administrative work that doesn't require a lot of concentration. I made a playlist of a bunch of songs that make me just feel like I'm in a rom-com, like Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer, some Nora Jones, of course. So that's another playlist I love while I'm working. I love to light candles because the scent helps me relax and even helps me feel more productive and inspired depending on the scent. Having a vision board on your desk or as your desktop background can be huge because it keeps you really inspired for what you're working toward. Romanticization is more about how you're experiencing it, not what you're doing. So I try to check in with myself frequently and tap into that feeling of like, I cannot believe I get to do this for my job. I can't believe I have a job and have the freedom to make my own money. Like younger me would be geeking. When I write emails or prep interviews, I sometimes imagine I'm a character in a movie. I'm smart, I'm stylish, I'm intimidating, and that energy shifts how I show up too. With chores and errands, I say try to create movie scenes out of them. These are the parts of life that we usually rush through or we dread or we just do on autopilot. But what if you approach them like you were the main character in a film? Like these were the quiet cinematic moments that move the story forward. Let's say you're driving home from work or the grocery store and you call your mom. But instead of just like multitasking or zoning out, you let the sun hit your face through the windshield. You imagine this is the emotional turning point of the movie. Suddenly, it's not just a routine phone call with your mom on the way to the grocery store, it's a whole moment. Cooking dinner is a major point of romanticization for me because I love to turn on my French playlist and light a candle and make a mocktail in a wine glass. And I feel like I'm Meryl Streep and It's Complicated or like Ina Garten. Like I immediately enjoy cooking so much better and it feels like this fun, creative outlet instead of a chore. Same thing with cleaning. Put your hair up like you're in a 90s rom-com makeover montage. Blast a playlist that makes you feel like you're 22. Treat folding laundry like you're doing wardrobe for your next scene. Even grocery shopping. Yes, grocery shopping, even in that god-awful fluorescent lighting, can feel different when you bring a tote bag that you love, a shopping list that's curated like a food stylist, and listen to a playlist that makes you feel like the woman who has all of her shit together. Romanticizing errands is about adding fun and pleasure to very mundane moments. And then at night, I know that scrolling is going to be the first thing that takes me out of my romanticized state. Like nothing will make you feel less present or romanticized in your life than looking at other people living theirs. So that's the biggest one for me, is just avoiding scrolling. And then I can sometimes do a little self-care moment, do a little lymphatic drainage with some relaxing music, turn on my red lights, which are good for all the things for health, but they also stimulate the senses, which helps me stay present. Adding in some lavender oil to my humidifier, and then always reading for bed with my legs up if I have the time. Reading is such a major way to romanticize your life because you can immediately tap into any kind of vibe you want, any kind of world, especially books that take place in other countries and cultures around the world that you love, or reading about people that you love and look up to. Like I loved reading, what was an example of this? Like Caroline Kennedy's biography was a really good like romanticization because I immediately felt like I was like in chic 90s New York working for a fashion magazine. It was so cool. Or I love books like Capote's Women that like takes me back to that like old Hollywood vibe and it feels so romanticized. Maybe you want a book that takes place in Italy or a book that takes place in the Gilded Age, and that's what makes you feel really romanticized. Whatever it is for you, reading is so good because you get to live in another world for a little bit and it is just pure magic. Like if that's not romanticization, I don't know what is. So that's a little insight into romanticizing your life. If there's one thing that I hope you take away from this episode, it's that you don't have to wait for your life to look different in order to feel different. You don't need your dream job, your perfect relationship, or a plane ticket to the south of France to love your life. You just need to start experiencing it differently. Romanticizing your life is about falling in love with what's already here. When you add intention to the ordinary, it becomes extraordinary. When you intentionally look for beauty, your brain rewires to see more of it. And when you start treating yourself like the main fucking character, you actually become her. So light the candle, wear the outfit, make dinner like it's a scene in the movie, drink your coffee slowly, feel the sun on your skin. Your life is happening now, not 5 pounds from now, not after the promotion, not when you meet someone, now. Romanticizing isn't about escaping your life. It's about being more deeply in it. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If this episode resonated with you, send it to your group chat, post it on your story, And let me know what moment you're romanticizing today in the comments and Apple reviews. I love hearing from you. You know it means the world to me. If you have any other requests for episodes or any Ask the Everygirl questions, DM us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram. I hope everyone has an amazing and safe and fun 4th of July weekend. Until next time, girls, go romanticize the hell out of your life. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at The Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or at theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.